Hello and welcome to Fans Traumas, Robots with These Guys. I am your host Jay, and with me are my traumatized fans. Guys, if you'd like to introduce yourselves.
Yep, I'm Dan. I've been a Transformers fan since the Armada days when I was a kid. That's kind of given me a bit of a leaning towards more the super roboty, dumb combining stuff with super modes and such. And as well as Transformers means I'm very into the Diaclone side and a bit of a lot of the Gundam side of things as well.
Fantastic. So you're a spendy person.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. And joining us tonight?
I'm Phil. I've been a fan of Transformers since the G1 days. Although looking around, I have surprisingly few G1 toys that are not my own from when I was a kid, which are mostly battered. These days, I collect mostly mainline. I don't know if we still call that. Do we still call that Generations? Is it Chug? I don't know. And then my way in was mostly the good old Marvel UK comics, which that's what hooked me into the franchise.
Hiya, I am Ralph, aka Braddock. Just came about one day and I stuck with it on most of the sites. I haven't been collecting Transformers as a kid. I seem to remember when I was a kid I had a couple of, I might have had I think I had Soundwave, I had a load of Robo machines, but they all got taken over. But then about, I don't know, 15 years ago, I think I picked up a couple of Dinobots at a boot sale in Clacton, and that was sort of the start of it, really. And in terms of being the spendy person, I'm the non-spendy person, because most of the stuff I pick up is either from boot sales or cheap or on sale, and my two specialist subjects are picking up things at boot sales and 3D printing, which I get someone else to do for me, and I think is a fantastic side of the Transformers side as it now is probably what I'm most interested in.
It's been some good stuff that you've been sharing with us as well, Ralph. I always tell people my mate Ralph is like those hawks you see at the side of the road just hovering at a boot sale, and when he folds his wings and dives, it's because there is something incredible at the bottom of a box of Barbies.
I'm glad it worked out that way. Most people refer to me as that kid next door in Toy Story that has all the stuff underneath his bed. So that's probably more complimentary, although a lot of my stuff does look like the stuff from underneath that kid's bed. So yeah, I've just I won't go into it too much, but there's about 4 projects ongoing at the moment, all of which currently look like stuff from underneath that kid's bed.
Yeah. You give them a new lease of life.
Something like that, although some stuff cheaper, crappier stuff may die in the process. There's a knockoff fire truck that isn't going to live much longer.
It's a noble sacrifice for the greater good.
Well, I'm old enough to have been collecting Transformers since they first came out, and I remember I had like Optimus Prime and Ultra Magnus and a Bumblebee that were all battered to beyond belief because they were constantly battling with the Ghostbusters and Batman and the Starship Enterprise, anything else that was in the toy box. And I came home from university one summer and thought, I'll just see if there's anything I can take back to the student digs to sit on a shelf. And my parents had given everything away to a Blue Peter bring and buy sale. I've got one Sunstreaker that I don't remember owning, so I don't know where that's come from. But it's okay because I graduated university in about 2000 and I started talking to my parents again last year, so it's all good. But yeah,
Jay has the most tragic backstory of all of us.
I started collecting again around about lockdown with Earthrise. Picked up an Optimus Prime and then a Megatron for him to fight, and then it kind of got out of hand that way. And so the next thing I started collecting was collectors. And if anybody was stupid enough to mention on a forum or a chat,
People.
I collect people. And if anybody mentioned they were in a Smiths near me or were in a Essex at all, I would pounce on them and make you now have pizza with me every month and talk toys, and it's really fantastic. So yeah, we're here today. We're doing a podcast because we've been to TFNation, the premier Transformers convention for Europe, the largest convention in Europe.
Other conventions are available, but aren't nearly as good. I think TFNation's always been the biggest. It succeeded Auto Assembly, didn't it? Which was the former biggest one.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of the same people are still involved. I think all they've done is renamed it, basically.
Might now be one guy in his shed.
Yeah.
How big's the shed?
Yeah. And also, the other thing with Roll Call is the last time was on advert for it, if I remember correctly, a lot of it was G.I. Joe based. It wasn't Transformers.
I think the whole deal is it's both.
Yeah, okay.
But yeah, which is probably why it's never interested me, because I've got zero interest in G.I. Joe.
Yeah,
so I wouldn't really want to go to a convention where half of it is G.I. Joe. Anyway.
Is it that you're not interested in G.I. Joe, or is it you're worried you might become interested in G.I. Joe and then there wouldn't be room on the shelves?
I'm not interested because there's not enough robots in it.
Fair
I
enough.
would have to put my hand up and say I do own about 15 G.I. Joe figures, only because they released the Bumblebee G.I. Joe, and I just love the fact you can put figures in it.
Yeah.
Because that's like a dream for me, is to actually put human figures in a Transformer, which is why I love Creo and other rubbish. And so I've got about 15 or so now, I think, because I've got Bumblebee and Megatron, I think. I didn't get the other one.
Cool. But we're not here to talk about G.I. Joe.
Definitely not.
We've talked more about G.I. Joe in this episode than Transformers now.
We have. So TFNation happens, there's a big one every August, and there are two smaller ones. Are they one's further north, one's less north, isn't it?
One's Manchester, one's Reading, I believe.
Yeah, the Reading one's in November.
And the big one in Birmingham is the one we all went to, and some of us went up for the whole weekend. It was mine and Dan's. No, Dan, you've been before me, haven't you? So it was your fifth.
My fifth, your fourth, I think. Wasn't
Yes. It? Yeah, that's right. Yeah, fourth.
Yeah.
And every time we've come back, we've gone on about how good a time we had. So we've picked up more people. Which has been amazing, and the amount of time we spend there has grown as well, because we did like 2 days and then we did 3, and now it's a ridiculous amount of time. So we went up on Thursday, and Dan and Phil and our mate, it was just Dan and Phil this time, wasn't it? Yeah, put their trust in me and let me drive you for hours up the motorway to Birmingham.
Let you?
Yeah.
Well, you haven't complained too loudly.
We got to see Road Rage J in action again, which is always a good time.
They don't
how many
move fast enough.
seatbelts were in the car? Was there like 4 seatbelts across it?
Not enough.
There was a bag of robots next to me that I could have fallen on in an emergency. I'm sure that would cushion the landing.
Yeah, you would have made Toy Fu sad, and we'll talk about Toy Fu in a bit as well.
Yeah.
No, it'd be fine. They could have scraped the blood off. It'd be fine.
As it turns out, I'm a relatively safe driver, and we got there in one piece. And Phil, you booked the Airbnb for us. Do you want to just talk about? Should we talk about accommodation? Because that was like the first thing that we did. Was we drove up to an Airbnb that we'd booked.
Yeah. And this is definitely, I mean, maybe getting a little bit ahead of ourselves here, but this would fall under the sort of tips and tricks, I would say, personally.
Mm-hmm.
Because the first year we went, we stayed in, was it like a Premier Inn?
Yeah, the NEC Premier
Yes.
Inn, yeah.
NEC Premier Inn, which is, and yeah, let's just get straight to this. I don't see myself ever staying at the Hilton. It's the price that they're asking for is.
Shall we do a brief rundown on the actual location of TFNation and talk about the Hilton itself?
Yeah, and then we'll
briefly.
circle back. So, like Phil said, the first year when we all went up together, we stayed in the Premier Inn, which is what Dan and I did the previous year, and it's the other side of the NEC to the hotel. And I don't know if people sort of appreciate that the NEC is essentially its own town with like 400 car parks and this huge amount of space occupying it. So Dan and I, we did the dune walk in the hottest August that year, and expecting sandworms to come out any moment. We were sort of in the desert. We had to do water stops at oases and things like that. And then the next year we all went to the Premier Inn. But yeah, the actual event takes place at the Hilton Metropole. And doesn't it just know it's the Hilton? It is like for the price we paid for the whole weekend. I don't think we could even done a night in, like, all of us. We couldn't have done one night at the Metropole. No.
No, we'd have to top and tail in some of the beds. A little bit too close. Love you guys, but a little bit too close.
Again, you disappoint me. You had the single room and you wouldn't share with me. It was.
But yeah, we got up on the Thursday, and we got into our accommodation. We got briefly locked in to the accommodation, I seem to recall.
Yes, that's definitely one fun quirk of Airbnbs. Sometimes you get locked in.
Yeah, but we made our escape, and then we went to the Hilton just to sit in the bar for the evening. So by this point, the convention itself wasn't actually running, but the bar was full of Transformers nerds already. Everyone had their toys out that they brought with them, like out on the bar tables, which is a big part of the TFNation experience, really. And it's kind of what we do in miniature on our kind of monthly nights as well. Is just like sitting in a bar with a table full of robots, just being complete nerds.
I think it's incredible. Like this hotel is renowned. It's a chain, and normally it's businessmen and it's briefcases and it's like, whoever happens to be staying. And you walk into this posh bar and there is a plastic toy on nearly every single table, and there is somebody in a nerdy t-shirt on every single table just fiddling around with bits of plastic and toys, and there's packaging everywhere, and it's such a vibe as soon as you walk in, and the convention hasn't even started.
Especially this year when we were sharing with a Christian gospel group who were all there in their absolute Sunday best suits, pretty much rubbing shoulders with nerds in bloody geeky graphic tees, carrying robots around.
It doesn't sound quite as much fun as the sharing with the Samba festival thing a couple of years ago.
No, so yeah, traditionally it's been salsa dancers that we've been sharing with, which is about as odd a pairing, I'd say.
Yeah. I mean, like, some of the shirts that were being worn this year, I think, would definitely help us blend in with the salsa crew. But no, this year, no mistaking the division between the two groups. What I was going to say is what I think is, and I think this kind of really speaks to how TFNation is different from other toy conventions, is, you're there night before TFN, and people have really got toys. They're bringing toys with them, their own bits and pieces, and it shows you it's not just about it is a lot about the acquisitions, but sometimes it's just about sharing what you love with other people that will appreciate that.
If you're going to do a breakdown of days, then I'll join you on Sunday morning.
Yeah, because Ralph, you're a one-dayer, so we'll try and get through this quickly, because like you said, Phil, it's not just buying the stuff. People would just like have the carrier bags, and I had a box of bits, and we were just rifling through each other's toys.
There was a girl who came up to our table, wasn't there? And she said, "This plastic bag, take anything you like from it for free. I'm just getting rid of them all."
Yeah,
so
that's amazing.
So I got a Beast Wars Quick Strike out of that. Did anyone else pick up anything from her?
I got a classic Rodimus.
Nice.
Yeah, just the shout out is the Chromatroid on Blue Sky, an excellent artist and a fantastically generous person. Phil and I have this tradition now, and I think we've done it twice. I'd say that's a tradition.
Just twice.
It started when I did badges for me and Dan, which had safety pins sellotaped to the back of them, and they had our forum avatars and our online names and then our actual names, so that if we bumped into anybody, they would know it was us from the forums. And then in comes Phil into our lives with his incredible talent for design and graphic artistry. And Phil, do you want to tell us what you made for this year's TFN?
Oh, for this year's, okay, yeah. So the previous year, the badges we'd done. What was the anniversary? It was like the 40th anniversary last year, wasn't it?
It was, yes.
So it's the badges basically lent on the sort of G1 packaging aesthetic, where you basically, yeah, like in small, you had, the actual person's name, and then they also had their username on TFW 2005. So for this year, we thought we'd sort of step that up a notch, and we, still harking back to the packaging on those boxes. We figured it would be really cool if we could do something like akin to the tech specs um, that you had on the old packaging with the red cellophane. We pass it over and see the stats. Now, initially, it was going to be stats, I think, at one point.
It was suggested.
But yeah, but we figured it might get a bit random. It might even get a bit insulting.
Everyone's
so in
strength is
the
up to
end-
0.
Yes. So we went, yeah, basically we lent on the idea that, you can see the person's username, but if you want to see their real name, that's when you're going to get up close and personal, use the decoder, and yeah, they came out absolutely brilliantly, honestly. To a very warm reception, I would say, right, Joe?
I would agree. People loved them, and yeah.
Given you kept the rest of us in the dark about them until you unveiled them at the event, I for one was kind of astonished that you'd actually gone so far and included an actual gimmick in the badges. It was such a geniusly kind of, I don't want to say simple, but such a kind of achievable thing.
Yeah, no, totally. I think you can. The premise is a simple one, but yeah, I mean, it almost begs to be made reality.
I think what I'm trying to say is something that works very well in the medium of a badge.
Yes.
Rather than what I'd have thought of, like, oh yeah, make like a badge that transforms and be shot down of like that's like impossible without money.
No. That's TFN 2028. I think we're aiming
Oh
for
my
transforming badges.
And people loved it when we handed them out. We actually held on to those till Friday because we wanted to make sure we got the most out at once. We gave them out to Thew, we gave them out to a couple of people to surprise them, and it was just, I was blown away by how well they were received. So yeah, Thursday, hang out in the bar, chatting to people, catching up, and sharing toys. And I actually managed to donate a load to Toy Foo, who do the... They're a charity. They sell toys. They give the profits to Mary's Meals. They've done an absolutely stonking year. But loads of other people have talked about them. They had a fantastic time. We drank a bit in the bar.
We drank a lot in the bar.
And we were joined by Will and Steve, who had come up a bit later from our gang. Had come up from Essex a bit later. And we sort of sat around and chatted, and then I think we went home about midnight, wasn't it? Something like that.
We went home about midnight and then stayed up till like 3 looking at Steve's Star Convoy.
Not a euphemism. But yeah, Steve had just got Star Convoy in the post, and he'd brought it all the way up to Birmingham with him to get out and play with his mates. And yeah, we had that. We had your card robot as well. That was out, and
oh yeah, Black Hook. So
yeah,
I'll talk a bit more about Black Hook actually when we come to the Hots and Knots section, because I do owe him a debt of gratitude.
Fantastic. And then eventually we waved the white flag, said we're old, and we tried to go to bed about 2:30, 3 o'clock, and tried to get some sleep. Yeah, it was the stay was good. I liked the Airbnb. What did you guys think?
Yeah, I thought it was very nice. It was definitely an improvement of the last one, which wasn't bad by any means. It did the job, but it was
It had like student digs vibes,
Yeah,
or
student
someone's
digs.
nan's house. One of those two.
Yeah, it was this one. It was all freshly painted and furnished. Everything was nice and clean and modern looking.
Yeah.
But yeah, with the exception of getting briefly locked in, which didn't happen the rest of the event, so I think it was probably us doing something wrong with the door. I didn't have any problems with it whatsoever.
No, I'd say it ticked all the boxes as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, absolutely. We should definitely go back again. So a good stay. Obviously, the thing with Airbnb is you make your own food. So we had bought breakfast. Last year it was fry ups every morning, which was fantastic, and it set us up for the whole day. But it's not sustainable.
And in fairness, I mean that's almost, staying at the Premier Inn. You wake up every morning. What do? You go to the breakfast buffet.
Yeah.
So it seemed rude not to at least attempt to replicate that.
Mm-hmm. We got an Uber over to the Hilton again from
Hilton, yep.
And registered. Disappointed in the wristbands this year. I know why.
See, problem is I've had those paper wristbands before, like various conventions, and normally they are impossible to get off. Like they're normally worse than the plastic ones to get off, because the plastic ones will tear eventually. The paper ones are a nightmare unless you've got scissors. But yeah, I don't know what it was with these ones. The glue just undid itself after like 3 hours, and it just fell straight off your wrist.
Yeah. It was a shame. They wanted to be more eco-friendly. Previously, they had those really brightly coloured nylon, custom printed ones, which I've added to my collection now. Guys, which of the panels on Friday did you go to?
So we all went to the Meet the Team intro one, didn't we?
I'm not sure we did.
I think we did, because that's where they did the health and safety announcement.
Ah, right. We call that midway
No, I thought
through.
that was opening ceremony.
No, we didn't do the opening ceremony this year.
He is
we
right.
Totally did.
We decided it was too early and would rather stand in the toy queue.
Oh right, yeah. I guess we did.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you are right.
You should come for the whole weekend, Ralph, because you miss this amazing stuff where you get to sit down and be entertained.
You can't even remember where you were. How can it be that good? You don't even know if you were there.
In fairness, that's just me, Ralph. Honestly, I don't even know where I was last week, let alone.
Yeah.
No, there is a story for Sundays thing, about memory, which I will relate, because you'll either find it funny or horrifying depending on your point of view. But yeah, Meet the Team is just get to know the you don't get this
it's
at
a kind
convention.
It's Andrew Turnbull, is it?
Andrew is one of the people running it, yeah, and David Wallace is the voice, the MC.
Yes.
Yeah. But the highlight for me is always the health and safety video, which is drawn by Gav Spence of TRDQ, Transformers Reviews Done Quick, Mr. Transformers as he's now known, and it's usually hilarious. Was there a voice actor on this one? Was there a
Yeah, I don't know who the voice actor was, because last year it was May Cat, voice of Twitch, voicing Twitch.
Hello, this is Future J here in the editing suite. Just to say that we actually know that Catherine Kavari is the voice actress for Twitch on Transformers Earthspark and contributed to 2024's health and safety video, while May Cat is in fact one of the excellent writers of Transformers Earthspark. So yes, apologies for the mix-up.
This year it was sound barrier, and I don't know who was voicing him this time around.
Yeah, so there's always a character telling us, what to do in the case of a fire and that sort of thing, and it's always fun.
I think we're all drawn towards like caffeine at this stage of the morning.
Oh my god, yes. Yeah.
But yeah, I think we all went to the one after that, Preserving the Dream. That was all about the old DreamWorks comics, and they'd found a unreleased copy of one of the issues that was in production when it got cancelled.
Yeah, was it like
basically
the Age
found
of
like
Wrath,
the early sketches or something, and had kind of upscaled them by hand and like recolored them.
Yeah, they were like Simon Furman's old sketches, weren't
Yes,
they?
yeah,
With all his handwritten
uh,
notes and such.
Yeah, that was really. I found that one really interesting. The thing I find with the panels is that they're usually really good, but they chain them. So you've got panel after panel after panel of really good stuff, and you have to
yes,
pick and choose because we were tired and we were hungry and we needed the caffeine and we were like, right, there's got to be a point where we have to go and get lunch. So we have to be selective. Like I really wanted to go
yeah,
and see Forging Your Own Path with the artists who had arrived. You know, they're independent artists that they book a table at TFNation, and the convention was showcasing them, getting them to come up and talk about what they were doing. Totally missed that because I need to get food in me. We got back for Toy Fu, and they told us how they were doing and how they started and how that was progressing. And I was blown away by the numbers that they were saying. So so it's
What
not
was the target they were trying to hit this year?
it 25,000 for the weekend and 250,000 for their lifetime, and they
Yeah.
smashed both of those by the Sunday. They're just like more
Oh,
than
I
it.
didn't realize we actually had final figures.
I think it was something like 26,000 something, including
yeah.
all the other bits and pieces like the auctions and the raffles and things like that.
Oh, incredible.
Absolutely amazing. Um, Yeah, absolutely blown away by that because Toy Fu is one of the dealers on a Saturday, and they have most of the room. They have most of the dealer room to themselves, and people will give them to sell a boxed G1 like giant Omega Supreme or something like that, and
Yeah.
or they buy in stuff from Japan as well, don't they? They buy in like that taco tank thing and various other Japanese stuff, and it's absolutely incredible.
Yeah, I think I walked past her on like several occasions. They had Deathsaurus, like a complete overlord.
hmm
They've just got all kinds of amazing stuff on there. Some of it has been given to them sealed in box. Some of them they have actually assembled from 4 or 5 different incomplete figures.
Yeah. They're knowledgeable as well. They know when something's complete or not, and they know how to put it together, which is just always incredible. Absolutely fantastic. But we're getting ahead of ourselves because that was Saturday. That was the
Yes.
unleash on the dealer room. Triple Takeover this year.
Yes.
So Triple Takeover is it's another podcast. If you guys don't know, I mean, if you're listening to this, you probably have listened to Triple Takeover first. What did you guys think this year? He said with a tone that implied,
So my personal opinion, not to start any into podcast beef or anything, it felt like they'd found a bit of a routine and stuck to it this time.
Okay, make a note of the date and time when the inter-podcast beef started.
While Triple Takeover are just like, who the are these guys? So I've got nothing against.
What were they doing, Dan? What was the panel? They had an hour and a half.
Yeah, so it was Heaven or Hell, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So they had like 10 different topics, and for each of those, so they had 10 different topics like big transformer, repaint, line from the series or movies and things like that. And for each of those categories, the audience voted whether they would do it as a heaven or as a hell. So the best one of those things or the worst. And then each of the 3 hosts would make an argument for why their thing was the best or the worst thing.
Yeah, and it was all right. Like
it's all right, but it's very similar to what they've done in previous. I think they did Room 101 one year, didn't they? That which was basically just that, but the worst of it. I can't remember. I think that was like 2 years ago. I can't remember what the last year's one was, but I think it was very similar.
I found it interesting that it very quickly there was a crowd direction. Like it was like the crowd knew what they wanted in terms of cheering for a category and cheering for a heaven or hell, and it very quickly became something that the crowd was controlling en masse almost. So there was definitely like a collective vibe.
Yeah, it was the most interactive of the panels, I think.
But honestly, I think there were too many categories, and I don't think it was 90 minutes worth of content.
No, well, I think we had about 4 different times towards the end where it goes, right, we'll do just one more.
Yeah, we had about 15 just one mores, didn't we?
Yeah, they could have done with less categories and kind of a bit more time expanding each one. Because the actual arguing and the humour of that was great.
Yeah.
But like it was all, it felt a bit rushed, I think, in each individual category and each individual kind of argument they made.
Yeah.
So they didn't really have a lot of time to kind of say a lot. It was kind of, this is supreme class Beast Machine's cheater and he's bad because he is.
Yeah. Well, tell what we'll do is we'll do another 105 of these. We'll get a following like they do, and then we'll get a panel and we'll do it, but we'll do it better.
And we'll do it much better, obviously, because we are so good at keep coming up with concepts and keeping them on track.
Absolutely. After that was over, we were sort of considering, food and whatnot, but we basically retired to the bar, didn't we?
Pretty much, yeah. So there was, I think there was one other panel on after that, which was
James Roberts.
James Roberts talking about his book, and then the kind of the later entertainment for the Friday evening is just a movie night, which this year they did do it a bit differently. So normally they just show a movie on the screen in the panel room. This time they did that, but they'd also hired out the nearby cinema to show Transformers 1. I think you could get special tickets that let you go and see that, and you got like a VHS box set for it or something as well.
Like a fancy
art pack.
Ticket to keep, yeah.
And Evan Michael Lee went as well, didn't he? The voice of Jazz actually went to the cinema with them to introduce it.
I really hope whenever his lines just came on the big screen, he just stood up and shouted them. That would be amazing.
Or just everyone applauded his 1 or 2 lines in the film, whenever they come up, just, cheered and showered him with flowers. But we shied off of that. We sort of agreed that wasn't something that we were interested in because I don't know about you guys, but for me, TFNation is not about sitting down and shutting up and listening. It's about talking and laughing and reminiscing and just having a really good time. But there's a sense of, it's going to sound so cliche, there's a community in that place, in that bar, in that hotel. Like we definitely take it over. We take over 3 or 4 rooms there, and there's no aggro, there's no pushing and shoving, there's no upset at all, there's no that's mine not yours. It's a very diverse place, isn't it? Like Friday in that bar, I mean, it's very punk, it's very
very queer friendly.
That was absolutely.
I made this comment to my boyfriend when we went to Colchester Pride the other week. I'm pretty sure I saw more trans people at TFNation than I did at the Pride event.
Wow.
It is very, very inclusive, very diverse. Everyone is perfectly chill with it. I don't think we had any kind of trouble or anything this time around. Certainly not from the actual TFNation attendees.
No, I've never experienced any of that.
I think that's it. Everyone there is, there because they love toy robots. And kind of everyone is bonding about that, no matter kind of what they're doing in their other day-to-day lives.
Yeah, I'd agree. I love the diversity of it. I love meeting people. I got so many hugs from people. I got people who I'd never met before sort of welcoming me in, and yeah, it was fantastic. I mean, anything else on the Friday night that you guys want to talk about? Anything that comes to mind?
Not especially. It was mostly just kind of at that point drinking. I think playing Cards Against Humanity and chatting about robots, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think it's that kind of real initial rush because obviously we had the Thursday night, but Friday night,
Yeah.
we had a
Friday
much
night, I
bigger
think, was where
crowd
the big drinking and socialising happened.
Okay, so do you think going on a Thursday and going to the bar was a good idea?
I mean, I got a free toy out of it, but but
Yeah.
the main thing about going, arriving there on the Thursday as opposed to Friday morning is just making sure that you're there for the start of the day.
Yeah, going up there on the Thursday, I definitely liked. Going to the bar, I think it's really down to who. It's kind of a bit of a potluck unless you know people are going to be there. Which I think you did, Jay, because you've been chatting to people on TFN and the WhatsApp groups and stuff.
Yeah.
But on the first day, I did bring along like the Transformers card game and some stuff, so we'd have something to do if we didn't find people to talk to. Whereas the Friday, it's guaranteed there'll be people up there, and you can kind of, even if you don't know anyone, you can kind of muscle in on a table and go, "Hey, cool robot, can I sit here?"
Absolutely, yeah, totally. But yeah, it was a really good night, and then it sort of dragged on until we had enough, and we went back to the Airbnb in an Uber. That was cool. So Saturday's the big day. Saturday is when the dealer hall is opened, and for those of you who haven't been, imagine a stately ballroom with everything stripped out and just tables everywhere, with toys from 50p to 500 or £1,000, just everywhere. Just everywhere you look is a brightly coloured box or something waving a gun at you, and it is noisy and it's busy and it's chaos. We skipped the opening ceremony because we wanted to get.
So I will just comment briefly that if you haven't been to TFNation before, I would strongly recommend the opening ceremony at least once, just because they normally have some kind of like amazing music video or something as an introduction that really helps you kind of get hyped up and into the mood. But this year we were more concerned about standing in a queue to get toys first, so we went and did that.
Well, we stood in a queue so that we could get into another queue.
Yes, yeah. So we queued while the early access queued to get into the thing.
Yeah.
And then once they were in, we got put into the actual queue to get into the dealer hall.
Yeah.
Yeah. And actually, like, having done this, 3 years in a row for me now anyway, this was the longest I'd ever seen the queue. But I think that might have a lot to do with the number of early access tickets that were on sale. Because as soon as they went in, the queue just dropped down, and actually it wasn't that scary at all.
I think it's important to note as well, it's not like an actual queue. It's you will stand in a line stock still for an hour, and then everyone will go in at once. It's not like you spend half an hour slowly walking forward. Once that dealer hall actually opens up to everyone, it does move pretty quickly.
I feel I should just give it an other side of the coin perception here. I only go on the Sunday, but I registered on the Sunday morning, and I looked at the queue, which I was probably a tenth of the size that it was on Saturday morning, and I looked at it and I went, "No, I'm good." And I went off and got a cup of tea and came back when it opened. You don't have to do these things.
No.
It's very true. It's very true.
I think that's another thing to note as well. So we talked about the early access briefly. But as the name implies, you can pay an extra 25 quid, I think, 25, 30.
Sounds about right.
And you get into the dealer hall an hour early. So obviously, if you're the kind of person that's looking for particularly rare items, that's kind of what that's for.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably the kind of the most intense it would get throughout the day. Obviously, if you're just there, you're just looking to pick up some generation stuff or browse through some bins, or like don't have a particular item you're looking for, you don't even really need to join the other queue. They have entertainment on in the panel hall. You can sit in the bar for an hour while it all dies down. And after the first hour and a half, the dealer hall gets a lot quieter and a lot less intense to kind of navigate.
But if you're looking for that Holy Grail, if you're looking for that boxed Grandis, if you're looking for something like that, it's worth getting the early access, because stuff like that had gone by the time we got there. There were still some things up there, but it was more the expensive end of things. Ralph, I remember you said on the Sunday like how shocking some of the prices were on things, and between different stalls you could see like
the differences between them was crazy. It wasn't 5% or 10%, it was 50%. You've got to shop around even if it's the big stuff.
Absolutely. It is weird. Like, they don't look at each other and go, "Oh, he's doing that for 200. I'm doing it for 300. Maybe I'll come down a bit and match him or try and beat him." There's none of that. It's just that is the price I've stuck on this, and you know, you can barter with them. I did see, and it made me feel weird. I saw somebody at the Toy Foo charity table haggling, and I just was like, "Ooh."
But you haggled them up.
I haggled the wrong way because I'm that kind of guy.
You haggled the right way for Tofu. Thank you very much.
I've had Toy Foo put their own prices down for me without me asking before. I bought a Armada Tidal Wave from them. And I think it was like 45 quid. I was more than happy to pay that. And Nick took it, looked at it, goes, "Oh, this doesn't have the leg things on. I'll give it to you for like 40." He's like, "Well, fine. I would have paid the 45. I knew it didn't have those bits." But yeah, I feel like Toy Foo is kind of the one place that, you know, their prices are already amazing for what they're selling. Two, it's for charity.
There was In Demand Toys had their chunk of the haul, and Leicester Vintage Toys was there.
In Demand Toys had their little kind of fort.
Yes,
they kind of wall themselves off, don't they?
They build walls out of silver bolts and things like that. That's the other weird thing. Like, I can't imagine dealers, again, in any other convention, having a stack of expensive, like, 90 quid toys out of sight. But they were, like, around the corner from them, and they were waiting for people to pick them up and bring them further into their little stand, into the middle, to pay for it. And there was no way that you could have picked those up and walked out the door, and that did not happen. You know, it was just absolutely incredible.
So much trust. There's so much trust in the fandom and the people that go to TFN. Because you literally, like, it doesn't even have to be that. You can just pick up a toy, and then you're not paying straight away. You're browsing a little bit more. You're wondering. And if someone decided, well, actually, I'm just going to keep wandering. I'm just going to wander off to the next stall, and that's it. That toy is gone.
Yeah.
You know, but there's none of that.
No,
Absolute trust. And as far as, you know, hopefully, as far as they're aware and their bank balance is aware, that doesn't happen.
There are some people here that do take the mick a bit and steal autographs from people.
Yeah, all right. That's yeah. Sunday. Yeah, we'll talk about that on the Sunday.
That's the Sunday. Yeah.
But yeah, so Saturday we didn't really do many of the panels. I think we did the Marcelo
I remember
spotlight panel,
picking up the end of his panel.
I think that was I think that's the only one I went to. I don't know if either of you went to any of the other ones during the day.
No, I mean, for me, once that dealer hall opens, that is, I'm just gone. That's my focus. Doing a couple of laps, taking a break, and then back in again.
Alternating between the dealer hall, the bar, and Resorts World for most of the daytime. But then, obviously, post 7 o'clock is ClubCon.
Yes, which we all bought tickets for. Ralph, you ever gone to like holiday camps, Ralph, in your past? Like Holiday Haven and things like that. Did you enjoy the entertainments?
No.
The cabaret.
Okay. So ClubCon is like it's the entertainment evening. You pay an extra little bit on your ticket for the Saturday to go to ClubCon, and I personally think it's worth it. I mean, a lot of this stuff comes out later on YouTube, but I think experiencing it in person has a different vibe. And they open with like a welcome and a chat and introducing the guests who are going to be here, and then we launch into the Pretenders cosplay, and that is incredible. Did you guys have any favorite cosplayers this year?
I would probably say. I mean, I think it was one of the prowls that I think eventually got second place.
Yeah, fully robot
They were
prowl.
basically
He was
the G1 prowls.
Yeah.
Incredible, honestly. There was less of a cosplay and more of just how did you bring him to life?
Yeah,
You
absolutely
know?
incredible. Plastic doors, flashing lights, full helmet. I met him at the bar, and his family were there, like part cheerleaders, part pit team, like in case any bits fell off. And he had to stand the whole time. Like his family was sitting down having a drink, and they would occasionally hold a glass out for him so he could take a sip from a straw because he couldn't hold anything properly. He couldn't sit down properly, and he wore this all day until the evening ClubCon, and yeah, it looked absolutely incredible. Dan, any standout cosplays that you remember particularly?
I'm trying to remind myself. It has been a while. Like, I know there was one that stuck with me at the time.
What about the was it the Quintesson?
Oh, the Quintesson was. So we were sat towards the back. So they said, "Oh, and coming on is this Quintesson judge," and this lady rocked up, just in this great big dress, and I actually had to stand up and before I realised the dress had, so it's like the big puffy bell-bottom ball gown type thing, and the gown itself had each of the 5 Quintesson faces on it, and I think it had like petticoats spilling out the bottom that were all kind of sparkly blue to look like the energy trail.
Yep.
And had kind of tendrils coming out. That I think that was one of the kind of the human former categories one, I think, and
Yeah,
that was like an amazing way to do a Quintesson, which, you know, otherwise you're just turning yourself into a great big egg.
Nothing against that.
yeah. I think for me it was the Prime Starscream, but with the crown. And she had the incredibly high stilettos that she stalked around in, and the huge purple shoulder pads like the Coronation Starscream. But she was Prime Starscream, and every time I saw her, I had to sort of stop and watch her because I was like, how do you walk that well in those shoes? It was incredible. The look was fantastic. And then she would stop and she would do like a bow or like a stately kind of, you know, wave of the hand. And the way these guys stay in character all day, even in that hot dealer room, is absolutely incredible. And I thought Knockout got robbed. I thought Knockout should have been number 1, but you know, that's just my opinion.
That was also a strong contender as well. Yeah.
It went to last year's winner again. They won again, didn't they? In the bot category. I cannot remember the name of the cosplayer. It's Dr. Evil something, I think. And who were they playing? They were, I want to say Drift. This is Future Jay again to say that past Jay was nearly correct. It was Dr. Count Evil, and they won the cosplay as Drift. Well done. Pretenders cosplay was incredible to see. It's all up there on YouTube, I think, and you can go and see that.
Now, I think Dan made a good point though. If you want to get the most out of the Pretenders cosplay, you got to be sat a lot further forward because honestly, it's a packed auditorium. The stage is, you know, reasonably placed, but you know, if it was a little higher, you'd be able to get a full view of the actual cosplay.
And some of the cosplayers are quite small on account of being children, like the Windblade cosplayer who had the light up fans on the wings and everything.
Yeah.
I think we saw her in the corridor, didn't we? But I think when she came on stage for the cosplay competition, I just saw the top of her head go past. because there was just too many people in front.
Exactly. So
Um,
it's very hard to spot them, and I think because of the sheer numbers of entrants that they get, they kind of just sort of they're on the stage, they whiz past, and then they're gone
it,
straight away. And
yeah, we didn't have like the 10-minute dance number we had
no,
in the
no, no, no.
previous year, did we?
But I think I don't know. I think I prefer like a bit more of a compromise between the two, where we actually kind of really get to showcase like the hard work that's gone into these things, and give the audience, a moment to really appreciate them. I think without a 10-minute ballad.
And I think what really illustrated that was that it took the judges so long to make their judgment because they were having to think about and look at the cosplayers again that Dave Wallace resorted to his dad jokes, which was we got through it, guys. We got through it together. But yeah, I had a great view of the Pretenders cosplay through the mobile phone of the person in front of me who held it above his head. So, I could see it absolutely fine. Yeah, it was a great thing. Matrix test. Now,
Yes.
this was... I know why they did it. They did it because they couldn't possibly handle the number of people. We were at capacity for Saturday. They had more people in that room than they'd ever had before. So there was no way they could do... Last year they did a Google form and you wrote your answer down on the box and you submitted it, and then they toted up all the different submissions, all the different scores, and wrote down, which team were getting points, if the team could remember their name. And it was chaos. I don't even think we got a winner announced until the Sunday. And this year they did it differently. They had teams. So we had Transformers the show, and artist Jack Lawrence joined them. And then we had Toy Fu and Gav Spence from TRDQ joining them. And it was weird. They had an elimination. Whoever got furthest from the answers lost a person or lost two people. And we got to play along a little bit with a multiple choice thing that gradually reduced.
Yeah.
And as soon as we realised that we weren't submitting answers, it was like, well, why am I looking at this then? Why am I contributing to this,
I think it could have been better if they'd committed fully to the game show format and had a bit more kind of interaction from the guests up there, because they were basically just writing answers down themselves while we were just writing answers down ourselves.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And there wasn't really a lot actually going on.
Yeah. Like maybe they need to kind of adopt like a Family Fortunes style,
Yeah.
I was just thinking
Yeah.
that. Survey every ticket buyer before they go in, like in the weeks leading
Ooh.
up to it. Survey everybody and then do Family Fortunes with Transformers questions. Name a Transformer
gold.
you could go on a date with, and then there'd be like the top scores, that sort of thing. That would be fantastic.
We'll start a petition to make this happen.
There you
And
go, yeah.
and
You can
then
have
we'll
that
get
one
the...
for free.
When they do it, we'll get the Fans Traumas logo in the corner. Yeah, the Matrix test makes you cry. A good Matrix test is painful to do, and it's wonderful. And it's always the obscure stuff. It's the Japanese characters. It's the people who were only ever a toy or were only ever a prototype, and the knowledge that is incredible stuff. This Matrix test was fun, but it wasn't as good as it has been, I thought.
Cherry auction. So
Yeah.
this has been a past 3 years, I think this has been a thing, where all the proceeds from this go to Toy Fu. Various people submit toys, custom items, signed items, and there's normally some rare kind of piece of prototype art or an original script from something, or something that's kind of a very rare collector's item that would be very interesting to certain people. Which it's always a fun watch. People normally bid huge amounts for stuff. I don't think we had anyone break the £1,000 mark this time around.
No.
No, that was for the like the exclusive like Royal Mail.
Yeah,
Stamp?
that was
Is that
the
right?
stamp art last year, I want to say.
Yeah.
Might be
and
the
that
year
was-
before even.
Year
Yeah.
before. Yeah.
He was the year before. You're right. Yeah, I think. I mean, that moment is peak for me in terms of the charity
Yeah.
auction because you really got a thing going between these two people at the end, and they were literally just
Yeah, but I think there were a couple of items in that I was interested in. It's like, well, I think they started off with just like a couple of boxed, like current or current-ish generation figures, and kind of like start them with like market prices. Like, yeah, I'll pay that. Well, I'll pay like say 50 quid over because it's for charity, and then it was like going, oh no, I'll do 70, 100, 200 for this £50 toy. It was ridiculous, but obviously it's you're not really so much buying the thing, you're just making a donation to Toy Foo that you happen to get another toy for.
Yeah, absolutely. It's fun to watch, and I'm always tempted to bump the price up, just to see what happens. But I just know one day it'll be me facing something with like 2 or 3 zeros on the end of it, and I've gone, oops, So I just keep quiet. I let the big boys do that.
Just like I normally go in and see, right, what's the leftover toy budget after I've been in the dealer hall for the day. Right, that is what I'm willing to bid up to if it's something really interesting. I don't think there's too much more to say on the auction. Really, it is an auction.
yeah.
I don't think
I
any
mean,
of us actually won anything in it this year.
it was quite amusing to watch. I think it was between Graham and Andy from our lot from TFW. Yeah, kind of essentially bidding against each other for one of those little custom beachcomber figures. Did you
Yeah,
see
and
that?
they didn't know. They
No.
were like 3 or 4 people apart on the row, looking at the stage, and they didn't realise that each one was bidding against the other. Yeah, that was really funny to watch. Nobody wanted to tell them because it was all for charity. And I think Lee bought most of the charity auction. Spider Father Lee, great, generous heart, like an amazing bloke. I will tell a really quick story about this. Our mate Will, he won one of the Action Masters, like a custom cast proper toy Action Master last year, which has been custom
Yeah,
coloured according
same guy.
to Andy Cousins' designs. And Andy Cousins used to design Transformers in the 90s. And so our mate Will had this toy, and he wanted to donate it back to Toy Foo so that they could resell it, re-auction it for money. And I said, well, I know this guy Lee, he might want to buy it. So I put them in touch with each other. Will said, I don't know, 125 quid, which is what I paid for it. And then I'll give half to Toy Foo, and you get to keep the toy. And Lee said, "Oh, well, then I better give you 150 quid." And that's just like the kind of the guy he is. He just handed over more money so that more would go to charity. And yeah, that was absolutely fantastic. So the charity auction flashed by with hundreds of pounds being donated, and then we got Transformers None, which for me
Yes,
was the highlight of ClubCon.
absolutely. Same.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, that was amazing to see.
And we don't want to go into too much detail because Chris McFeely has done his whole panel, the whole discussion, and it's up on YouTube. And TFNation's Patreon has the audio recording we listened to. But I found it fascinating that there was a network that was pitching their own version of Transformers and their needs and their demands above and beyond what Marvel and Hasbro were coming up with at the same time for what became what we now know as G1 was fascinating. I would want to watch this series.
Yes, I've said it a couple of times. I wish this had been what we got in the Skybound comics instead of kind of the G1 with more depth that we got, because I feel like this would work really well with the darker tone. To give like the briefest of summaries, it's basically G1, but the Decepticons have already won, and it is kind of the Autobots are a resistance kind of working on Earth with humans to kind of strike back against Decepticon factories and the like.
I think I've probably got said similar things, but it is you know, they reminded me of like like Man in the High Castle, that kind of almost like alt history kind of sense. But it really embraced this kind of idea of you know Transformers in disguise, robots in disguise. In the Decepticons could literally be anywhere, so humans essentially had to watch what they said, and there was this kind of air of paranoia and fear of speaking out of turn because lest your robot overlords take it out on you or anyone you love.
It was weird because the premise was definitely that man in the high castle, Castle Wolfenstein. They've won. You're all oppressed. They have a bit where a teacher is interrupted because part of his equipment transforms and says, "We don't talk about that under the Decepticon rule." And
we don't talk about freedom.
That's it. Yeah. The idea that your toaster could be watching you in the kitchen and spying on you and stuff. I love that idea, but it came across more as a low done by the people from Scooby Doo. Because there was still that very Nazi analog oppression, but then the kid is like stuffing his pockets with eggs, and they're worried about getting into trouble. But it's like, no, if a French kid egged a German officer in World War II, they would be punished. I mean, at the very least, they would be publicly punished, and at the very worst, they could be shot. And this kid is planning to throw eggs at Megatron, or Megatron's replacement. I can't remember. Negavator.
Negator.
Negator. Yeah.
Negator.
And it's quite a shocking idea. Like, you can't, as adults, you look at it and you go, that is really dark. And as kids, they go, that's really funny. And I don't know which version I would rather have seen, the Scooby-Doo version or the Man in the High Castle version.
Yeah, I think, but that's the thing. I think there was definitely like a tonal whiplash. I think if that had actually been kind of a children's cartoon back in the day, it would really be sort of flip-flopping between the sort of two ideas. On one side you have Bumblebee slash Muffler, doing his best sort of
Muffy.
tripping over his own feet and getting into all kinds of weird jokes. And then the other side, fascism. So yeah, I mean, I love the idea of the story. Would I have wanted it in place of what we actually got? No, I don't think that would have worked. But now, for like a more mature audience, and perhaps as Dan said, perhaps in comic book format, as part of what we got from Skybound. Yeah, absolutely, but perhaps not back then. I feel.
As an idea, it had so much potential. Like, it's such an interesting setting to put things into. It reminded me of the BBC series Tripods, where they're all living under the rule of aliens and that sort of thing. But a really, really good performance. They got all the voice actors donated their time, like free.
Yeah. So normally, TFNation has a script reading by the voice actors who are, invited to do signings and the like for the actual convention. This time, they, there was, I think there was like 10, 15 names in the credits. There was like David Kay. There was all sorts who weren't at the convention actually, but had, as Joe says, donated time and done recordings to send in to assemble this kind of this lost episode.
They asked lots of people, and some of them couldn't actually contribute, and so they donated to Toy Fu instead, which is absolutely amazing as well. Yeah, fantastic.
One thing I'd definitely say, I mean, obviously, this is all online now, right, for people to watch?
It should be. I think, yeah.
Yeah. But I think there's something very special about seeing it in that auditorium with that audience and, getting those immediate reactions from, everyone else in the room who just gets it as well. It's like going to like a really good film festival where everyone laughs at the right moments. If it's a
Yeah.
daft bit, you can joke about it. It doesn't mean you love it any less, but you can joke about it. And then when there's something cool that happens, then just the room just loses it, and it's amazing to be a part of.
I mean, it was basically like a live, a full cast narrated PowerPoint, wasn't it? There wasn't a huge. There was Andrew Turnbull and Chris Carter did an opening animation, which was brilliant. But then everything else was static images and people acting with these static images representing what was going on, and yet people still cheered and laughed and went ooh at times. And there was like it was having that audience participation, being part of that audience was worth the admission to ClubCon for sure.
Yeah, yeah,
Absolutely.
that's why it's definitely the highlight of ClubCon for me,
Yeah.
and probably one of the highlights of the weekend.
And then ClubCon ended, and we rolled into the bar, and I don't remember a lot after that.
We didn't spend nearly as long in the bar this time. I mean, it was 11 by this point, and I think we were all pretty shattered from the day anyway. So I think we might have spent like an hour or so in the bar and then called it a night.
Yeah, yeah. We said hello to people, but yeah.
And then Sunday, so
Ralph, just to bring you in here, you are a one-day TFNation person, and your one day is the Sunday, right? So can we get you to say a few words about your Sunday at TFNation, please?
I was also in an Airbnb, funny enough, with my missus around the corner for a couple of days beforehand. I drove up on the Sunday morning. I went to a boot sale on the way, which surprisingly I didn't actually buy new Transformers, mainly bought football kits. Went into the dealer hall when it was already open. I didn't queue up for it. I just went and got a cup of tea while that was happening. And I saw some good mates who are around these pictures now, and just if I can throw a tip in, if you sign up for parking in the NEC and tell them you're going to see one of their shows, which this year was the Indoor Fun Fair, you can park for £5. And of course, I didn't go anywhere near the Indoor Fun Fair. I just went to the Transformers convention. But it's still parked for £5. No, you take away what you take away from it. I'll be entirely honest. I've never watched a podcast in my life. I just don't find the time. But the convention is what the convention is. Take away what you want from it. I do one day. This year I made it all the way through. I didn't last year or the year before. Um, and just very quickly, what was hot was that Loki's stall reduced everything to 50%, something like half an hour before the end. Nobody else was making a huge amount of effort to reduce things. There was one place that had 15% off, but I actually thought, yeah, Loki's. And you know what? I've got one here. Still haven't made it. What made the other two? No, credit to them for doing that. Because I thought that was the right thing to do. But no, I enjoyed it. I'll go again. I'll do the same thing next year. And take what I want from it. No, all good stuff. But I will be more sensible and time honourable when I'm at home, but I'm not. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you, Ralph. I appreciate that you have had to sit through us talking about things that you weren't even witness to. So thank you very much for your patience and for giving your time. Thank you. So Dan, you were saying about Sunday.
Again, Sunday is a mix of panels and the dealer hall. The dealer hall tends to be a bit more bare bones at this point, but also towards the end of the day they tend to start discounting things depending on the stall.
Did you actually find anything discounted?
I don't think I did, no, but I also wasn't looking particularly hard.
No. I would say, again, veering dangerously into tips and tricks. I would say that it's when it gets to late on Sunday and that trader hall is approaching closing time, do not be afraid to haggle, because
Yeah.
there's one particular toy that I walked away with from TFN. I'd been eyeing it the entire weekend, but it was just too much for my budget. And yeah, essentially I kind of went, you know what? I'm gonna throw in an offer. see what I get, and yeah, I walked away with it, at a very heavy discount. So super happy about
Um,
that.
yeah, of the panels, I think the only one I went to was the recap of the Transformers None thing, where they kind of went into more detail about how they'd actually found all this information and kind of assembled this whole thing. Did either of you do any of the panels on the Sunday?
Yeah, managed to catch some of Legacy History of Transformers box art. Just caught. I don't think I think I might have missed the beginning of that, but yeah, caught the majority. It was always interesting to see these things, and then a little bit behind the scenes about sort of how they come together. But apart from that, I think that was the only. Yeah, that may have been the only session I saw on the Sunday.
Yeah. This was the day when I was flagging like anything. Like I really needed some proper sleep, and I didn't get any Friday or Saturday, and I was starting to lose it. So then that's when I didn't have the energy to stay in the dealer room, but I really wanted to see Sophia Miles. And so I asked people to ping me on WhatsApp if she came back into the dealer room. And when she did, I toddled over there. There were people. She had not been at her table for over an hour, and people had been queuing, waiting for her to show back up again. And she did, and she was there, and she was lovely, and she signed some stuff. And I told her how great she was as an actress. We talked about Doctor Who, we talked about Thunderbirds, and then I thanked her and left. And got halfway across the dealer room before I remembered I had to pay her for the print that I just got off her. So I turned around, and her, I don't know, partner, handler, bodyguard, he had a dog, was chasing me through the dealer room and just caught me, and I said, I'm so sorry, I'm so dog tired. And then it turned out he only took cash, and I didn't have the cash on me, so I had to go and get some help and get some cash. But it all got sorted. But that was the sign that my brain was not fully functioning. And then we knew that Jay had needed lots of sleep. Went to pay for parking, and I couldn't remember my license plate. I could remember my wife's. I could remember the back half of my license plate, but the first half was in a fog somewhere in my head that completely eluded me. And so we had to go and get my license plate and go and pay for parking. But that was, yeah, it's you've got to pace yourself on these things.
I think that leads us quite neatly into the kind of the next topic, which is the tips and trips for actually surviving TFNation.
Yeah, yeah. And I think just yeah, keeping on that what Jay was just saying there, it's you that you do have to pace yourself.
So we have been able to get hold of our friend Will. Will, would you like to introduce yourself and briefly say how you got into Transformers collecting?
Hello, friends. How I got into Transformers collecting? I got into Transformers collecting due to my brother having many of them when I was a small child and being given a G1 Sea Spray. That is the entry point for me. And then Beast Wars, which I actively enjoyed of my own accord.
You started just by doing a day or two, didn't you? Or how did you get into TFNation?
I booked for 2020, which obviously didn't go as planned. And then I came up just for the Sunday on 2021, which was fun. But I mainly only did the dealer hall, which is great, but not the whole experience, obviously. And then the next year is when I started coming for the 3 days with you guys, I think. No, I've not stayed for a Sunday. I've only done 2 days, haven't I?
Yeah, you did Friday, Saturday with us, didn't you? And you went home Sunday.
Yes. Yes, I can't be away from home for that length of time. But yeah, I'll try as much of it as I can.
So what for you is the main TFNation draw? What's the thing that keeps you driving however many hundreds of miles it is once a year to Birmingham?
Interesting panels and friends.
Friends,
which is very, very cliche. No, it's nice that many fans of a collective fandom being in one space. It's nice to see who else is there. Obviously, I know you guys are going to be there, and that's the main draw. But other than that, artists, authors, behind the scenes sort of stuff. That's the pull for me now. A couple of years ago, it would have just been the dealer hall. I like to absorb as much as I can from the experts.
Fantastic. Because you were a big fan of James Roberts. I remember you queued up to see him last year, didn't you? You gave him a miss this year?
It wasn't last year. It was the year before, where I chatted to him at length about how to get my foot through the door, potentially. Because I've never put any of it out there, but I have lots of scribbled notes of various fan fictions.
Really?
But he was lovely. He was he was very, very nice and very constructive in his feedback on how to get going. I then didn't queue up to see him last year, primarily because I was worried he might ask what progress I'd made, and it's very little. And then this year, I took my notebook with me, and I was going to go and see him, but the queue was like 2 hours long.
Yeah, he had his own section of the dealer room put aside for his queue, which was just getting in the way of everything else. It was, immense.
Yes, he's a very popular man.
Yeah, he started in fan fiction as well. Like, did you pick up his book at all, Generation Mechs?
I haven't. No. I talked to him about his fan fiction and how he got started when I did have a discussion with him a few years ago. Haven't got any further than that yet.
Cool. So, highlight for TFNation for you this year?
Ooh, that Vietnamese restaurant.
Yeah. So good.
I can't state enough how much I enjoy the food there.
You went back more than once?
Multiple times.
Yep.
Multiple lunches.
We were all slumming it at Five Guys, and you were getting your noodles on. It was and I think you had the right idea. Actually, we were going to talk about food and drink in the tip section of this, but hot tip from Will: the Vietnamese place at Resorts World.
Both Vietnamese places. So it's the main Vietnamese restaurant, and they've got the street food section as well, haven't they? Will, I think.
Yes, there's a smaller little outlet. Is it downstairs or just across the court? Where they basically just deal with little takeaway lunch style sort of things. But both of them are magnificent.
Yeah. We're not sponsored by this Vietnamese restaurant in Resorts.
As evidenced by the fact we can't remember the name.
Okay, so non-food related. Did you have a particular pickup or a particular moment that stands out in your memory?
My favourite pickup is probably Earthrise Blue Streak, because I like my Datsuns. And I got back into blockies because Defenders are fantastic. Because I've basically sworn off those until I saw them. And highlights wise, Dan.
I don't like where this is going.
We'll leave it at the conversations at the bar were the highlight.
They were amazing. I don't know about you, but I laugh so hard at TFNation. Like this year particularly, there's been laughter till I nearly cried, and it's been absolutely amazing. And it's been fantastic, like you guys being part of that, and like for the whole or as much of the weekend as we can. Would you recommend TFNation from your perspective? Because, and you can correct me if I'm wrong here. You wouldn't describe yourself as a social person, would you, Will?
Absolutely not.
But TFNation, would you recommend for somebody in your circumstances, your mindset?
Yes, as long as you have the power to say go away when you don't want to have a conversation.
Well, absolutely, and there are spaces for those times as well. Although you didn't
it's a big enough place you can get away.
Exactly, yeah. You didn't feel compelled to. You didn't shout at anybody, and I think we all had a good time, really, in one way or another. You had early access last year, and you didn't get that this year. Do you feel like you missed out, or do you think it was the right thing for you to do?
I think it was the right thing to do. It's very rare that I make a sensible decision. Every year that I've gone prior, I've paid for early access because I'm a bit of a whore for rare stuff. And I basically realised that on all of those occasions I've gone in for early access, I've walked in, been massively overwhelmed, not committed to a direction to walk in, and then general admission has happened before I've got close to a table. So this year I thought, why bother paying? I'll just queue like everyone else, and get in there and have a more calm approach. If there's something you're definitely intent on trying to find which is incredibly obscure from someone like Toy Fu, then pay for the early access and sprint.
Mm-hmm.
If not, don't pay for it.
Absolutely. I remember being in that queue and watching people come out with bags and stacks of really nice looking boxed stuff and just being like, is there anything left? But there was plenty. There was so much left there.
There's always more.
There's always more. Toy Fu just somehow keep those tables filled with stuff. It was absolutely amazing. Cool. Thank you very much, Will. Is there anything else you want to say to the person out there who might listen to this?
No.
Fair enough. Have a good night, mate. Thank you very much for calling in, and we will speak to you again soon.
Tatty bye.
Bye.
Good night, fella.
See you, Will.
Fantastic. Okay, that was Will taking a moment in his break to talk to us about his experience at TFNation. Right, so we were talking about tips and tricks. So let's carry on with that. So, Dan, as the veteran of the most TFNations out of our group,
Most time in grade.
yeah, absolutely. What are your big tips for TFNation?
So, I think my first one is, because it's kind of relevant no matter how many days you're going up, no matter where you're staying, is kind of just the basic self-care. Like, make sure you've got water with you, make sure you've got a snack, because it is exhausting. Like, I've done Comic-Con weekends, I've done LARP weekends, and somehow TFNation is more exhausting than any of them. Quite possibly because of all the drinking that goes on. But the general thing of, take care of yourself and make sure you're actually enjoying yourself. If you need to take a moment, take a moment. They have a quiet room there. You can sit there, you can sit in the bar and just have a glass of water. Go outside, get some fresh air, go to Resorts World, get some food. Just like, it can be very overwhelming and you can feel like you're on your feet the whole time. And I think by the Sunday we were all shattered and were like, time to go. I think if we'd have been that way earlier in the weekend because we hadn't paced ourselves, it wouldn't have been nearly as enjoyable an event.
Yeah, it is surprisingly taxing. If you say on paper, if you say to someone, right, you're gonna go to this event, you can sit down, watch some panels, or you can just just go relax in the bar and just socialize and hang out there. That doesn't sound too bad at all, but actually, you are constantly on for the entire weekend. I think you're always your brain is always active, whether you're learning stuff or you're interacting with other people, and it's all fun. But these things, they will naturally take a toll on you. And when you've had sort of 3 straight days of this, it's a lot.
So my thing is, I try so hard not to be in charge or bossy or a leader or anything like that. I kind of, and this is one of the things that like that I need to address for next year is I spent a lot of time concerned about what other people were doing. Had anybody upset them? Were they talking to enough people? Were they talking to too many people? Did they see enough panels? Did they go to the dealer room enough? And I was thinking, actually, what you could do is you could let them be adults by themselves and handle themselves, Jay, and you could actually do the stuff that you want to do. I think there is if you go to TFNation as part of a group, make some time for yourself.
Otherwise what happens is either it goes horribly badly and you hate each other, or even worse, you all decide to start making a podcast together.
We all know which way we went.
The relationship therapist suggested this to keep us together. Yeah. Oh my god. So tips. Going back to tips.
If you're doing especially if you're doing a weekend, it's not so bad if you just go up for the day. But there's a lot of additional costs on top of the ticket price and money that you've probably set aside for robots. So I normally have a budget of a few £100 to spend on robots. I still got back from TFNation, looked at my bank account, and was like, oh crap, I have no money for the rest of the month.
Yeah.
Because it goes on travel, on food, on booze.
When you're Airbnb-ing, you've got to add on the trips to and from the hotel. And because I was planning on joining everyone and drinking at the bar, we Ubered. And the
Absolutely.
Uber XL was significantly more expensive than the regular Uber. I think next year I'm going to not drink on Thursday, Friday, and Sunday. And I think I will drive you guys to the hotel and park up, because I think that's going to be cheaper than getting the Uber.
Well, yeah, this is the thing exactly. Like the additional cost of upgrading to an XL was not recouped by having just one extra person. Like if there was six of us, then it might have eased.
Yeah. So yeah, getting to and from the hotel was very expensive compared to last year. And the other thing is the shopping on a Saturday. Like I had shopping bags full of plastic toys, you had bags full of toys, everyone had bags full of toys, and I wanted to get up and go and get you guys to come and say hi to someone, and we couldn't leave the bags in the corner of the bar because much as we love the TFN community, there were other people around as well, and there was a lot of nice stuff there, so we had to kind of arrange something so that we could go to a different part of the bar, or we gather up all the bags like those people at the end of Labyrinth who've got all the stuff on their backs, and we just travel the convention with all these robots on us,
Yeah, yeah. Like we say it absolutely is a safe space, and we do trust people, but also, we've just bought these very precious things, and and if the worst did come to pass, then you wouldn't want that sour in your entire weekend.
No.
Yeah, I had a great time, and I would change how I did things, but I wouldn't change what I did.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
Any more tips for newbies?
I mean, I think we've touched on a lot of it here. In general, obviously, some people like to stay in the Hilton because it's convenient. You can drop your robots off in your thing. You could just go to your bedroom, take a nap. It is hideous. Was it like £400 the weekend it was up to this time?
Yeah,
it was a lot. Yeah,
it was a lot.
So yeah, even if we are saying like Ubers are expensive, offset against the cost of actually staying at the Hilton, it's a drop in the ocean.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
We're literally paying like a quarter of what you pay out for the Hilton.
but I'd also say again, if money is concerned, you absolutely do not have to do the whole weekend. It's great doing the whole weekend. It's a great social experience. I say you could all spend hours hanging out in the bar after the convention is totally finished. But the first time I did TFNation, I went up on the train for the day and back again, and it was literally the price of the day ticket and the travel fare. Obviously, I didn't get to stick around quite as long in the evening, but if you just want to experience the convention, meet a few people, and pop off, it's absolutely a valid way to do it.
Yeah, I would agree. What I would say is definitely bring a robot that you like. Sit yourself at a table and put it on the table. And what will inevitably happen is that somebody, might even be called Jay, will come up to you and go, "That robot's really cool. Can I see?"
I would say for me, like every year, the social side of it grows because you see the same people each year, or there's more people that are going there, and it just becomes more natural. Like the first year there, you're kind of a little rabbit in the headlights. It's probably quite overwhelming, I would say. And unless you know people that are definitely going there that you're familiar with. Looking sort of 2 years on since that first TFN, now it feels a lot more natural, and it's comfortable almost, you might say.
Yeah, I think comfortable is the right word. There is a vibe when you walk into that bar.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And there is lots of social media associated, like unofficial social media associated with TFNation. So there are Facebook groups, there are WhatsApp groups, there are Discord servers, which are out there for people who are going to TFNation or thinking about going to TFNation. So you can look those up. So let's talk about our favorite pickup. What was your favorite thing you came home from TFNation with, guys? Phil.
Um, I've got to say it's between two things, but essentially one of the first things I did when I got into that dealer room um, was I had a little rummage around in demands. You know, they got these big plastic containers, you know, filled to the rim, and you'll see this sort of thing on all stalls. But yeah, so this kind of bin diving, as I like to call it, it resulted in sort of picking out a it was the LG Takara Repugnus, and yeah, he was extremely expensive, I would say, and you know, like to the kind of point where I really had to sort of question whether or not it was the excitement of being in the room, of finding something that A, I had completely forgotten about, but B, also really regretted missing out when it first hit the shelves. Um, and I have to say that the idiot monkey brain kind of won over, and I ended up paying out for this thing. And you know, I didn't feel bad about walking away with it. It's like, okay, then fine. This, you know, I've taken a bit of a hit. I'll try and buy some cheaper toys next. And I walk around the corner and I find that not only is he available, um, you know, in a sealed box on a completely different store, but also he's packed in with Grotesque, which is another kind of hard to come by figure, also Legends. Mint in box, with you know the other guy is in like a little plastic bag. £20 more than what I just paid for Repugnus
Ooh.
on his own. On the one hand, I can't pass up this box. On the other hand, I've literally just bought half of this duo for a ridiculous sum. So basically, I'm in a relatively comfortable position where I can do stupid things like this and take that hit, you know, momentarily anyway. So essentially, what I did was I ended up picking up the 2 pack because, of course, I did. It was an incredible price, and if I hadn't seen the other one earlier on, I would have thought no more about it. But
Yeah.
yeah, so the lesson is either don't give in to FOMO because you might walk around the corner and find it for a lot cheaper. But on another day, it might be, oh my God, you found something amazing. Quick, grab it.
Do you still have both of them?
So basically, yes, so I have the 2 pack. They're amazing. They look great on the shelf. And the other one already has, I've managed to move them on because we're in such a good community and there's always someone out there who wants the thing. You know, the toy's going to go to a good home.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things about the nature of TFNation is you don't know what's on the table. Dan, favorite pickup of TFNation?
Yes. Well, I think it was going to be fairly predictable, but it is Rail Racer. So this guy's probably the last Grail I had on my list for some time. I'm sure there will always be others, but he was like the last thing that I was kind of had my eye out for as a TFNation pickup. I've never been like a massive fan of like most combiner designs, but Rail Race is kind of so different with how he goes together, and it's kind of such a nice uniform design. Plus, he's made of 3 trains. That kind of I did really want one, and I found him on Toy Foo stall. He's almost completely complete. He's like missing a missile from Rapid Run. I think it's the middle train. And he's great. He's just the right level of slightly janky to keep things interesting as well. There's a few things like his knees collapse and the general kind of awkwardness of that kind of era of Transformers. So yeah, I love him. And I'm sure that now I've bought him, we'll probably be getting a HasLab release next year. That will make him completely pointless. But for the time being, I love him.
To be fair, we were both, me and Rail Racer, born in the 80s, and I've got bad knees too, so you can't really put that past him. I remember your face when you took that out of your bag at the bar after we'd been in the dealer room, and you were so pleased with this. There was this gleam in your eye as you were playing with this wobbly, janky thing that like it makes such a nice rattle when you pick it up. It's fantastic. It was really good to see that on your face. For my pickup, I peaked too soon because again, as Phil says, we've got a great community, and I got Omega Supreme from Ash, and yeah, it was fantastic. He's such a good Titan, and Ash gave me an excellent price. He let me pay over a period of time, and then he brought it with him all the way to Birmingham. And that was fantastic. Like I've got that now in my Titans collection. I absolutely love him.
I would say also there's, I think I mentioned a little bit about sort of haggling on the Sunday, and I think it's quite important to maybe like have a bit of patience on that sort of thing, and that if you are eyeing up something in particular, but it's slightly out of your price range, if it doesn't go, and sometimes I kind of take a is it meant to be kind of angle on these things. And if it's still there late on the Sunday, and you can put in a cheeky bid for this thing, maybe it's meant to be, and that's what you'll get. And that's what I did for what I would call my, probably one of the grails that I actually picked up this week on the TFN weekend, which is Phantom Jaw, which is the redeco of Steel Jaw from RID 2015. Which is like
the police car one.
Yes. And the only thing he's missing is his claw, but I have a Steel Jaw claw awaiting delivery as we speak, and I just need to sort of add a splash of red to that, and hey, we're good. And so yeah, Sunday rolls around. There's about an hour till closing time. And yeah, I go over to the dealer and I say, kind of, would you take less than 60? And, honestly, this guy's, I'm grateful for this, but he's not very good at haggling because he dropped it immediately to £40. That is like, yeah.
I think probably like everyone else, he was just done by that point.
Yeah, maybe he was, and honestly, but he could have definitely got me for more. But on top of that, I'm obviously as soon as he says that, I'm just like, great, I will bite your arm off here. I'm whipping out the credit card already, and he's like, oh, it's cash only.
Ooh.
And yeah, so before I get to the end of this story, a little tip for people: carry some cash on you. Honestly,
cash is king. Cash also makes it very easy to budget, because if you tell yourself you're only going to pay in cash, then you can just withdraw that amount. Once it's gone, it's gone.
Exactly, and yeah, exactly, and which is one of the reasons why I did that, but also, yeah, cheeky credit card as well.
Yeah, he was the because he'd flown in from Japan, hadn't he? That was he'd brought a load of imports with him. I think
right.
he'd come specially. He wasn't like he wasn't local to Birmingham or anything. So I think the less he has to take back in a suitcase, the better. And I think he was willing to, especially on the Sunday, he was willing to make that.
Yeah, and I'm forever grateful.
To wrap up then, hots and nots of TFNation 2025. Dan, what were your hots and nots?
So, my hots, I think the main one this year was actually being in the bar and talking to people. Previous years, I've kind of been a bit done by the time I got to the bar. Like I haven't been quite as social. But This year, I spoke to loads of people. I'd like to thank my good friend Black Hook from the Metal Cardbots series, who is a very chunky Cybertron style of robot who turns into a pirate ship, who I had brought up with me from home to have a toy on the Thursday and Friday, and I just had so many people stop by the table and go, "Oh my god, that's so cool! Can I look at him?" And like just striking up conversations about him. So having a cool robot, really good tip for getting to meet people and chat. On that, Finding Rail Racer was really cool. Literally, like that was like I walked past, did a double take, went back on Toy Food Standards, like, oh my god, there's actually one right in front of me that's a reasonable price. And the Alt G1 Transformers None show, I found that really interesting. I'd love to see like that concept taken in a different direction, but kind of what they did, bringing it to
TFNation,
kind of with the team they had, was amazing.
Yeah.
In terms of knots, the rest of the panels for me were mostly a bit of a miss. I tend to be quite selective on panels anyway. I tend not to like the stuff that's just a voice actor or an artist kind of talking about their life story. I like the stuff that we occasionally get people talking about toy design, which there was a bit there with Martello's panel, but even that was kind of leaning more towards the art bits. There wasn't quite as many kind of community-led panels this time, which have always been the ones I've really enjoyed in the past. Like we had the history of mecha anime ones and things like that. So yeah, this time, I didn't go to nearly as many panels, and the ones I did go to, I didn't find quite as interesting, unfortunately. Other than that, just a general tiredness by the Sunday. I think, as we said, kind of we were all kind of pretty done by that point, which it's kind of inevitable, but it does kind of put a dampener on kind of the final day. Like you're just not getting as much done that you'd like to. Like I think by the last hour we were there, we were pretty much just slumped in the bar waiting for it to end. But other than that, not really any other knots. I had a great time. The only other thing was I couldn't find any metal card bots in the dealer hall, but I think I might have expected a bit too much from that, so that's more on me.
Maybe
next year. Yeah.
Maybe next year, I'm sure they will have. The amount of people that kind of were chatting about them, I think other than me, I think I saw 2 other people who had them in the bar. They're definitely going to be a bigger thing going forwards.
So go on then, Phil. Hots and knots for your TFNation.
So Hots feels really self-serving, but I'm gonna go with it anyway. It was the name badges.
Yes.
Honestly, I think as
can I just say I think you're absolutely allowed to be self-serving on those name badges. I think you've earned it.
Not that it isn't still, but I appreciate the thought on that one. There were I mean, just from a purely functional point of view, you meet so many people over the weekend. It's really helpful to be able to kind of put names to faces, or at least username to faces, depending on how quick you get to someone. But it's also like a great conversation starter as well. And just in particular this year, just I think the reception that we got from people, and not necessarily people that we know closely. In fact, it was people that didn't even, weren't the recipient of a badge, and they were talking about it. And they were, oh, we've seen people going around with these, and they absolutely love them, and it's kind of it puts ideas in my head that we can definitely discuss, and we have discussed, and we'll discuss more between now and the next TFN. But yeah, I think that was just a huge boost I don't know. It's nice. I feel like it's nice in a way to kind of give something back. I think that's the hot. Not I've got to say is it's a tricky one because I think it's for me it's finding that balance between going to the panels, which essentially make up like the majority of what I've paid for, apart from access to the dealer hall. That's kind of like one of the main things that you're actually paying for. And the other part is this ever burgeoning kind of social side of things. I got to hang out with like quite a few people this year and just like, really just sort of chill out with them and play ridiculous games of Cards Against Humanity or just literally just stare at bots while half cut. But there's also lots of people which I didn't get to spend half as much time with. Our schedules just didn't align. We were coming back from food, they were going to food. Just it was tricky to kind of maintain that balance, and I don't think I quite got it right this year. I don't know if there is a right way to do it, but I don't feel like I nailed it this year.
So,
What
I
about you, Jack?
mean, a lot of mine you've covered. Both between you have covered a lot of mine. Getting the badges done was a real privilege, and thank you again. I know I've said it like 100 times, but your design was what made that. And I just went, could we do something silly like? And you went, oh, I'm not sure. And then you just did it 100%. Like, I said, can we do this stupid gimmick? And you went, well, maybe. And then it came out. And I remember that sending you on WhatsApp the first test print of Douglas's one and going,
Oh
look,
my
you
God.
can see his name. You can see his name. And not being able to tell anybody else in the group or anything like that because it needed to be that Friday surprise. Hanging on to that definitely was amazing. For me, the real hots were the people. Um, just making friends and good friends. There was Lee, there was Ian, there was Jake, there was Sam, Ash, and Zachary. There was Tans, Ant from Wild Wheels
Always
Hats
good
and
to see
Ant
you.
Spot. Jack Lawrence is amazing, and getting to talk to him about his hobbies rather than his work was really fun. And then dragging Dan like into like as he went past, I sort of
Oh,
tractor beamed
sorry.
him.
We're talking about Gavin Bellwood, are we?
Lovely Gavin Bellwood. Yes, yeah. So, yeah, his face when I said that, I said, hello, Mr. Lawrence. He said, well, first of all, Jack. And I said, well, no, it's Gavin, isn't it?
Can
Yeah.
I add something to my hots related to this? It's just like talking to celebrities and people of note within the TFNation community with no clue who they are, and then coming away and being told, "Did you know that it was such and such?" I was like, "No, I just had a perfectly normal conversation with him."
Yeah, we don't tell you in case it freaks you out, Dan. That's but then so he does the Empire live roleplay, and Dan, you do it as well, and it was like
Yes.
you were literally walking past, you had your eyes elsewhere, and I kind of collared you and went, this man also does that hobby, and it was bringing him in and talking about that. He was really fun, really loved to talk to. The guys from the forums, Graham, Andy, Dave, Bob, Phil, the other Phil. Andrew and Amy, really lovely people. Guzzy, love talking to Guzzy. There's a passion to that person that is unstoppable. Like Guzzy is pure punk, and I love it. And meeting young.
Guzzy has the world's only bulletproof battle jacket, just because there are so many metal badges on that thing.
Yeah. Do you know what? If I needed to go into battle for whatever reason, I'd want Guzzy by my side. He's amazing. They are amazing. And Nate and Cuba meeting young people like who are into the same sort of
Yeah,
stuff as us and
very
getting
nice
their
hanging out with
opinions.
you,
And
Prime.
yeah, really cool hanging out with them. That was just spending all that time with new and old friends was just incredible. And I laughed. I laughed so hard. It was brilliant. It was fantastic and tiring, but it was so amazing. Not the food and travel expense in that part of Birmingham. Like, oh my God, I spent probably as much on traveling and eating as I did on plastic, and that's just ridiculous.
We are a captive audience.
I am going to parent you guys, and I'm going to make you sandwiches every day for TF Nation next year, where I will make them in the morning and I will put them in your packs. There'll be a fruit of some kind, and there will be a drink and a snack, because I'm not doing that every time. We'll go to the Vietnamese place for sure, but oh my God. And dragging my toys everywhere, like just bustling around with shopping bags like an old lady in a supermarket or something like that. That was horrendous. I would love for them to have like a locker system, so I could just shove them into the locker and then come back to them when I'm ready to go, that sort of thing. And I'm making it sound like there's more nots than were hots because the panels were good. They were back to back, and I couldn't do all of them. I literally could not do all of them. And I wanted to go to the dealer room, and I wanted to spend time with my friends, so I missed stuff that I really want. I wanted to hear actors talk about their stories. I wanted to hear artists talk about their creative process. And in the end, I had to choose. And so I got the FOMO. I really did get the FOMO. I missed out on so much stuff. That was the only thing. It was too good, and I couldn't do all of it. But yeah, had a fantastic time, and I'm looking forward to the next one. I'm seriously considering going to Reading in November.
Same. Yeah, I feel like by the time November rolls around, I might have that itch again.
And it's just for the day, and yeah, for the chance to see the same people is worth that trip, I think. Fantastic. So, guys, I think we're there. I think we've done TFNation. I'm really hoping that our first podcast is not our last. I'm hoping that that you guys will hear more from Fans Traumas, Robots with these guys. I think I should say a big thank you to Will and to Ralph for popping in and giving their views and things. We really appreciate you guys taking time out to do that with us. And yeah, thank you very much, Phil. Thank you very much, Dan.
Thank you very much, Jay.
So thank you very much for listening, and hopefully for sticking
to our
through
one
this
listener.
far. Yeah, we thank you. We'll learn your name, and we will thank you in person on the next episode. Our one listener.
One listener. Thanks, Mum.
So we're going to find out. Oh, my mum wouldn't listen to this. She'd be bored to tears.
No, mine neither. She'd be lost. She wouldn't know what I'm talking about.
I don't think mine could cope either, to be fair.
And we'll see you around.
Yep.
Take care and see you soon.
Cheers.